the show. My name is Kevin Anyango, the founder of Mtandao Varsity, a school of soft skills. The platform talks about those characteristics that employers looking for or attract opportunities. Today, I am not alone. Today, I am with, I need to get this name right, Tazim, because I cannot pronounce it. Tazim Elkington.
Elkington.
Well, I was almost there. Well, welcome to the show, Tazim. I'm really nice meeting you here.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and it's a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, listen, I'm a huge fan. I know who you are. I'm sure people watching us right now will be wondering how I got hold of you, but things do happen.
Well, you know, surprisingly, Kevin, anyone that calls me will get a call back, and I respond to every single email. I am not one of those unreachable people. I do not give myself airs and graces. I'm very simple and very down to earth.
Well, you know, that's very interesting, Tazim, because I've got to say, when we were introduced, because we share a mutual friend, and, you know, you replied to my text, I was surprised because, as you know, people are very busy, you know, and people like you, you know, you're very careful in who you got involved with. So, yeah, well, I was surprised. That doesn't happen all the time.
For me, it's as simple as this. Anybody that takes the time to contact me deserves a response. The response may not always be a yes. It may be a no sometimes, depending on the situation or the, you know, or what they're asking for. However, a response is well deserved for everybody. I don't do busy, by the way. I don't live in what most people are living in, this busyness. I don't do that. I'm very organized. I manage my time stringently. I am very clear that I am not running my life on the mainstream, because that mainstream is killing people.
Right. Well, talking about be busy, and I'll go straight to the point. So, Tazim, so you are a personal coach, aren't you?
Yes. However, I don't call myself a coach. I'm a little wary of all these, the language people use. I'm not into trendy language, and I'm very clear that what I do is different, is very different. So this is why I call myself an evolutionary disruptor, which means disrupting mindsets based on all the systems we grow up in. Regression therapist, a psychosomatic therapist. I am also a leadership trainer. I also do reculturing in organizations. So I do leadership, reculturing, management, communication. All of my work has the foundation of a solid creation of a value system, of value systems, because most people are operating without clear values that they live their lives by. Well, I also do a lot of public speaking. Sorry. I also do a lot of public speaking. I also write. So I write articles for different magazines and for different platforms. So it's my work is very diverse and varied.
Well, when you're describing yourself, you mentioned something about disrupting mindset, and I want to go straight to the point now concerning the mental health challenges. We're living in a very, very tough period, obviously COVID, and there are lots of people who have lost their jobs, and there are people, young people, mostly those who will be watching us today, are struggling to find opportunities. So what I'm trying to ask you is, how important is a sober mind when looking for opportunities, and how can people make sure that they are relaxed, they're not worried, and they can carry on with what they're trying to do, which is creating their own opportunities or looking for work?
So, you know, the questions you've posed, a couple of questions in one, and we're talking about mental health. Now, it's really important to understand that everybody's mental state is not the same. So there is no one answer that fits all. It doesn't work like that. Everybody has had their own life experience with their own challenges, with their own background of disruptions from racial, tribal, gender, religious, educational, social, etc., etc. So when you pose a question like that, unfortunately, there isn't an answer that fits all.
So
There isn't a magic wand that anybody can wave and say, here is an answer to everybody's anxiety and state of mental health. It doesn't work like that. It's so unique, it's so individual, it's so personal that there isn't one generic answer for that.
When it comes to anxiety, Takin, so
Tazim.
what should you tell that person, a young person that's looking for work, they're very anxious, nothing is working for them, what will you say?
Well, anxiety is a symptom. It is not a problem. Anxiety is a symptom. And what people need to realize that anxiety is triggered by life issues, life circumstances, and that the triggers that cause the anxiety are a buildup of an entire life's situation. And so when people get anxious, it's because they feel helpless and they feel that they don't know how to cope. And this did not start now. This was already there. Yes, and yes. Current circumstances trigger that anxiety. So the first point is you've got to examine your life. You have to identify what is it that's making you out of sync with yourself, okay? Getting help is very important. Get some counseling, get some therapy, get some assistance. It's very important. We have such a taboo when it comes to getting mental health help. Yes. Mental health is not just extreme diseases or imbalances or chemical imbalances like schizophrenia and yes. bipolar and borderline disorder, etc. Excuse me. Those are extreme chemical imbalances. But day-to-day mental health imbalances are caused by a lifetime of situations that have caused, hello?
Sorry, my camera just dropped off. Just a second. Live shows, we can't control these things. Have I lost her? So Takin, that was my camera. For some reasons, it decided to fall down. Sorry, live recording sometimes. Live recording sometimes cannot change these things. We're back.
Technology has its own challenges, Kevin.
Exactly, yes. I was going to ask you that as well. How do I control this? Anyway, we are back now. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, so basically, anxiety, people need to realize is a symptom, and they have to literally track back and see what areas of their lives have been out of balance. And of course, people panic when they lose their jobs. Of course, people panic when they don't know how to pay their bills. Yes. However, the most important thing I can say to anybody in that situation is, first of all, look at your life and ask yourself, what doors can you open for yourself? Don't get stuck. The whole point is people get into the cycle of, as soon as the anxiety rises, they get stuck. When they get stuck, they don't know how to move because they're helpless. They have to understand that life will bring situations and circumstances that are challenging, and they have to learn to bring out their strength in these situations to then look at what options do I have? Who do I approach? How can I find myself another position? Because let me tell you something, there are so many opportunities out there, but because people get afraid and because the fear of losing their job makes them stuck, they're unable to move.
We are losing.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, Tazim, are you there?
Kevin, you're stuck. Can you hear
You're
me?
back. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, I can hear you now very well.
Yes, I can hear you, but I need you to stay focused. I'm going to ask you to please stay focused because you keep moving your attention to someone next to you and you're not very present. So you need to stay present with me because this is a very important conversation.
Well, thank you for that. And yes, I'm focused to you. Now, let's go back to what you're talking about. And I don't want to revolve around mental health. But you mentioned something about people need to find out or to re-examine themselves to find out why are they anxious. You make it sound very easy, though. It's never that straightforward, is it?
No, it's not. That's why I said they need to go and look for help. You know, counseling and therapy has been considered a taboo on our continent.
Course,
you know, yes. If you go to get help or if you ask for help, people say there's something wrong with you, you're crazy. It's not true anymore. We have to get beyond this taboo of therapy and counseling. There is nobody on this planet that doesn't need therapy. We need to understand that the most successful people are in therapy because they realize that that their lives are ever changing and that they have to keep up with the times. They have to get rid of the baggage that's been created in their lives. So if they can go to therapy, what's the shame of going into counseling or therapy? So it's not as simple as I make it sound. They need to find help. Everybody needs to find help.
So Takin, so whose fault is it? I mean, let's go back to the education system, for instance. Like, I don't remember sitting in a class where we're being taught about, let's say, how do you address mental health challenges. I mean, as you say, there are personal situations here. But what you're telling me here that we need help, we can go and seek counseling, they don't tell that in school. Or how should young people know about that? What you're telling me now?
What I said earlier was our systems are totally out of date. Our education systems, our religious systems, our political systems, our tribal, racial systems. I mean, children are still being taught that we were colonized. For goodness sake, you know, does that even make sense? We're still told that, you know, racially there are superior and inferior colors in our society. We still have our systems are completely skewed. Those systems that have been used up to the 20th century are out of date, including our religious systems. Our religious systems tell us to pray to a God. God is not going to come down and help anybody. God has given you the tools, has given you everything you need that helps you to create a life for you. So if we were made in the image of God, why are you not using your God-given gifts to understand and create a life that's different from your parents, your grandparents? The other issue we have is a lot of generational baggage that has been passed down from one generation to another. All that generational baggage has created belief systems in people's heads that are completely screwed up. There's no other way of putting it.
Do you believe in critical thinking, Takin?
So first of all, please get my name right. It's Tazim
Tazim, that will be interesting conversation. So, do you believe in critical thinking?
I don't know what you mean by critical thinking.
Right. I refer as I understand it. So, the ability to analyze or make a decision based on what you have. And the research says that at the moment, most people leave school without having that ability to analyze information and make a decision.
How can they analyze anything if they haven't been taught? How can they make good decisions for their lives when this is not part of our education system? So it's great to say what's critical thinking, but if they don't have the ability and the capabilities, how is a person supposed to do that?
Well, the employers outside here, they want that. So what should they do?
What do you mean employers want that?
Uh, well, if you look for opportunity at the moment, there's those things that employers value. So things like, for example, I say critical thinking, leadership skills, ability to make a decision, ability to lead. There are those things that employers take. That if I have a candidate, it's not about what they've qualified for, but also I want them to have that personality that will bring employer opportunities.
I think what we have to be clear on here, Kevin, is the fact that employers look at a CV. They look at a CV that includes their education, includes what they're good at. They also look at whether this person can fit a certain position, okay?
That's right.
People are not generally, youth do not have leadership skills because they have not been taught, neither do they have the experience. It is the responsibility of employers to literally train and develop these young people into learning how to acquire these critical thinking skills, these leadership skills. There's no way that a 23, 24-year-old that goes for an interview is going to be demanded of leadership skills. He has no experience. He's just come out of school. That is a completely, it's a ludicrous expectation.
But
these are skills and talents that have to be developed and learned.
But that's the reality outside here.
That's the reality where? Where is this reality? These are the things. There's no blame. I don't do blame. I think youth need to know, first of all, what their pluses and minuses are. Right. Okay, so they need to be aware. The self-awareness is missing. People are not self-aware. People don't even know what they're good at. They just want to go and do a tick list, and then they want to get a job and they want to earn money. What they've forgotten is the important part of being alive and using what they really love doing and being in finding what it is that drives their lives, what they enjoy doing, not to just get a job for the money. Those days are gone. Those days are literally going out of the window. People need to now work in professions and careers where they have such a joy and enjoyment for what they're doing, and how to connect what they have the joy for, what they have the gift and talent for, with a job which then earns them the money.
But at 22, 23, will not reason like that, will they?
They won't reason like that. That's why they need to do a lot of self-contemplation and a lot of self-reflection. It's not that they don't have the capacity, it's just that nobody told them that this is what they need to do. And with your university, this is what you need to look at. How do you empower young people to really examine and identify what would they like to do? How can they incorporate what they enjoy doing with what they've studied in order to create these skills that will then make them employable?
So at what time do we call out personal responsibility? And this in relation to, as you say, that when an employer wants employees to have this kind of skills, for example, the leadership skills or ability to make decisions, but they're talking to students or they're talking to somebody just graduated. So at what point should I say actually that's personal responsibility, not employer's responsibility?
So children ought to be learning how to be responsible from the time they're 7, 8 years old. Our education systems don't teach this.
No.
So responsibility starts. Do you know that before or by the age of 8 years, a child has already decided what kind of person he or she is based on their environment, based on the parenting, based on their education, based on whatever belief systems they've been shoved into? A child by the age of 8 already has decided that they are not worthy because their parenting, the kind of parenting we have, the parenting system is completely skewed. We are parenting with corporal punishment, with putting down children. Children are not even raised up. So by 8 years, a child is already destroyed. And so by the time they're 22, 23, they already have a deep sense of not being worthy. Their confidence has already been broken. They're going to schools where teachers are telling them that they will never make anything of themselves.
Wow. So carry on.
Why? Because that's the way generations have been parenting.
So are we saying it starts with the community? So we can say community is failing young people?
It's not community, it's families. It's absent fathers. It's overworking mothers. Mothers are doing dual jobs sometimes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We have so many single parents. You know, there is no one single answer to this. Our society, and I don't even like the word society, has crumbled because we have lost the sense of human and humane value. I am not a slave. That slavery mentality that you're speaking about, that employers are looking for with a tick list, is no longer valid. I am not a slave anymore, that I am told I have to produce A, B, C, D, E. That is no longer valid. That is going out of the window. I'm not a slave anymore. This is a mutual relationship between employer and employee, where it is an equal exchange. I will deliver X, Y, Z for you as an employee because of my gifts, my talents, and my skills. And the employer, in return, will treat me with dignity, with respect, will train and develop me where I am not fully developed and trained, and will pay me.
But will you say, that's quite interesting. Will you say it's easier for someone like you to say that because, you know, you've had amazing experiences?
I've lost you again.
So will you agree to that?
That because I have gone through a good life and that I'm sitting at this age and that I can say that? Is that your question?
No. Let me repeat. So what you were talking about, like for example, you say that you're not a slave yourself. You know your worth. You don't want to be in a box. This tick list that you're talking about. You don't. That's not the way to go. So I'm asking you this: someone like you have had amazing career, amazing stuff. What you have done, you've achieved. So you can say this confidently, but at 23, 24, who is trying now to go into a career, they're like, I cannot reason like that. This is what people want outside here.
Kevin, I was 22, 23 at one point. I was in that situation and I refused to accept. And I was 22, 23 in a very male chauvinistic. Going into employment was a different story. I had far bigger challenges. There was no technology. There were no training and development. We didn't go to university or college. We finished high school and we had to go to work. I had bigger challenges than that. And I still refused to sign into the checklist and the box. It's a personal choice.
Wow, interesting. Do you believe in likability?
Do I believe in ability?
No, likability. Like for example, if employer wants somebody or is there an opportunity, I'm looking for somebody that I like, someone that speak my vibe, someone that relates easily to people. So you're likable. It doesn't matter what you're qualified in, but you've got that personality that people will like. So if I train you in a particular role, you'll do okay because you're likable. Do you believe in that?
I don't think it's about likability at all. I don't think it's about likability. It's about who you are as a person. The aspects you're bringing up are very superficial for me. This is life is far more important than trying to impress other people, trying to be likable, getting other people's approval. It's about who you are as a person. And so constantly subscribing to aspects that are irrelevant is not important. You have to be true to yourself. And by trying to fit into everybody else's boxes, people are losing themselves completely and losing self-awareness.
That is interesting.
So the leadership models, the leadership models of this 20th century, a lot of which you're describing, are out of date. The 21st century is a new world, and post-COVID, it's a completely different world. And so we have to change our language. We have to change the way we approach how youth are going to flourish, because if the youth don't build their confidence, they will create, their generation will already be doomed, which it sounds like, because they're still operating on the 20th century models. And they're going to, when they get married and have their children, they are going to screw up the next generation as well.
Tazim, United Nations say that the future for employment is about soft skills. And young people need to understand that soft skills are what will open doors for them. Soft skills are things like which I mentioned before, and I'll repeat, things like personality, like ability, someone who's able to analyze, someone who's able to make decisions, someone who's likable, someone who has leadership skills. These are characteristics that United Nations is saying that will open opportunities for young people. You seem not to agree with that.
For me, it is important that youth realize that the most important aspects of creating long-term benefits for their lives, for their livelihoods, is first to develop a clear value system. Without a clear value system, they are going nowhere. So if they take 3 simple or 4 simple values: integrity, responsibility, communication. If we work only on those 3 to start with, these are an unshakable foundation for any human being. Yes. So first, they have to get their value system cleared. Secondly, they have to examine their belief systems, because their belief systems are skewed, and a lot of the beliefs are based a lot of generational baggage and bullshit. There's no other way to put it. Thirdly, they have to understand that emotional intelligence is extremely important. Yes. Exactly. If they do not understand their own emotions, they are not capable of understanding other people's emotions. We are not working as bricks. We are not bricks, we're human beings. We have feelings and emotions. So emotional intelligence is extremely important. Lastly, communication, which is something that is not taught properly in schools, is extremely important to learn to become an effective communicator. So when you look at these foundations, when these are implemented and learned, then we can start talking about, based on these value systems, people then are able to articulate, to examine and make good decisions, to look at the consequences of what the options are when they make decisions. And that leads them into maturing, growing, learning, exploring. For me, these are more important.
You talked about integrity. And at the moment, I want to talk about Kenya, that both you and I are kind of familiar with. If you look around, people that we say are role models are kind of struggling a bit at the moment. I look at the political system, for example. You look at a civil service in Kenya, for instance, and you're like, these people in public climate at the moment, they may not have that morals that you may want young people to copy. I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, in your space, or what you're telling me now, how important is mentorship, and does it actually matter?
So are you asking me about mentoring and mentorship?
That's right. Does it matter? Is it, I mean,
I just want to make sure I understand the question.
Right, yes, that's exactly what I'm asking. Does it matter?
Again, mentorship. I was part of a presentation about 10 years ago at a festival called the Samosa Festival, where they asked me to present on mentorship. And 10 years ago, I turned it on its head. And I said, mentorship is part of the 20th century model. And what mentorship does is, a lot of the mentors, I think it's very important for people to have mentorship. However, the kind of mentorship models we have also gone out of date. We need to create new mentorship models where the person mentoring is not talking at their mentees. Rather, it is again an equal relationship of learning, exchanging, sharing, and growing. The mentor must not feel superior to the mentee because the mentees also have a lot to teach. So we need to create this model where it's an equal sharing of learning and exchanging. So, rather than the mentor trying to create many little mini-me's.
But when I'm coming to you, that means there's something I like about you, and I want you to mentor me. Not to be like you, but to get those skills that I like about you and create my own path.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't do mentoring. I don't have the time for it.
But you believe in it.
I don't believe in it. I just told you, I don't believe in the model that people are using. And what I call mentoring is completely different. So I don't really offer it. It's not part of my offerings because actually I don't have the time for it.
So if young people right now, if someone asks us right now, I don't have a job, I am struggling, what will you tell them, to be very, very honest?
I would tell him to really take time to sit down and it's a simple exercise. Anybody can do this, Kevin, is to take a piece of paper, draw a line in the middle of the paper. On one side, write down all their pluses, all their talents, their skills, what they're good at, their education, everything. On the other side, write down what they're not very good at, what they don't like. So already they can separate what is good within them and what they need to not go for. Okay, so that's the first exercise. The second exercise is to really take responsibility and create. Another big problem we have with the youth is that they don't know how to write their own CV. So create a good CV. Third, and I mean there's so many templates online. The yes. CVs I have had people send me are appalling. And these are university and college graduates, and they don't know how to write a CV. So create a good CV with keywords because employers are looking for keywords, those pluses into their keywords. The third thing is there are so many job sites online. The youth are lazy. They need to stop being lazy. They need to then create profiles on every single website. Put their CV on there. On a daily basis, make their job from 8 to 5. Their job from 8 to 5 is to find themselves a job. It becomes a job. Their job then becomes their job to find a job, but they cannot get a job with yes. their CVs that are really not up to par. So there are so many areas that are gray, that are not properly addressed. And when those are addressed, then youth will start to see the difference.
So if someone has spent 7 years looking for work and they've never been employed, that is their fault. They have to take responsibility. The blame is not on anybody else, because after you're 18 years old, you're responsible for your life. Stop blaming the government. Okay, stop blaming your parents. Stop blaming the education system. Our systems are all skewed. If
you understand that the blame game is going to give you another 7 years of unemployment. Stop blaming and looking for someone to point fingers at. Take responsibility of your life. It's one life. It's your life. And after 18, you're responsible for it.
Wow. Takin, I can listen for you the whole evening. I mean, it's quite interesting. The stuff you're saying they're quite unconventional, isn't it? There's things that, like I've never heard the way you reason. And listen, I've done over 40 podcasts now on soft skills, and you're very, very unique. And I think some of the stuff you're talking about here, people need to know. But you're saying you don't mentor. So how can people hear this kind of things then? They're quite interesting alternatives, if you ask me.
I've got plenty of YouTube videos. Go and listen to them. I've got plenty of articles online. Go and listen to them. Invite me for an interview again, and we can talk about a specific topic, because today it was really not clear. We had too many questions all over the place. We pick a theme, we pick a topic, and we can have another discussion rather than, having it all over the map.
Well, this is about soft skills. Well, listen, I know you need to go, but I've got to ask you this. There are lots of reports saying that the university system is churning out students that are half-baked, that they cannot actually, they're unemployable. Do you agree to that?
So, you're asking me a lot of questions based on what UN says and what reports say. The question I'm going to ask you, a simple question I'm going to ask you, Kevin, are these based on African content? It's not based on African content.
It is. Soft skills, for instance.
It is not based on African content. And based on African content, we are Africans. We are not Europeans. We are not Americans. We are not Canadians. We are Africans. We have a different stream. We live differently. We need to speak about things from an African viewpoint, not from the UN viewpoint and not from an American viewpoint. We need to start getting real. So I don't subscribe to these researches and these reports. So it's no point asking me those questions.
No, it's interesting. Well, listen, I totally agree with you. We need to have our own unique way of talking. We've got our own skills, as you say, African setup. But at the same time, we don't live in a vacuum, are we? We need to be part of this global village that, we all have our uniqueness. But also, we've got to subscribe.
We can't be part of a global village. We can't be part of a global village when our education systems are not the systems of America or England or Europe.
So
we have to base our lives. We have to look at our systems, and we have to base questions and discussions on our systems, not on these global reports, because our systems are our systems. We can't deny that.
Who builds this system? Who should be building this system you're talking about?
I am not about to go into that question because really, I cannot answer that question. It's the politicians, the leaders, the so-called leaders that are supposed to start really looking at all these systems and changing them. And then we go back into the blame game.
No. But, we all have responsibility, isn't it, Takin? Like, we have identified that the system is churning us out. The system is closing young people out, but we need to change this. So we cannot say it's their job. It's all of us.
There is no we, Kevin. There is no we. Let's be clear. Okay, let's be clear about this. When we start talking about a we, which we are you talking about? Which we?
Society.
Who is we?
You and I, for instance.
That's not true. It's not true because each person is responsible for themselves.
That's right.
Our political system, our educational systems, who is going to change them? I have no idea who's in charge.
Okay, that's interesting. So what do you say? What do you tell young people?
Take responsibility for your life. Simple, full stop. And stop whining and complaining. Take responsibility, stop blaming. And take responsibility, knowing that you would not be on this planet if you were not meant to be, and that there is a reason for you to be here. But if you are not going to take responsibility for that life, you will never find out what opportunities lie there outside for you.
Wow, I like that. And I think this is the right point to end this. But before I let you go, allow me to ask this. So the way you reason, it's quite interesting. It's very, very unique. That your philosophy has been formed through your life experiences, isn't it?
Totally.
Right. And so when we ask young people,
and I went through a very challenging life. I did not have an easy life.
Wow.
But I didn't give up. I didn't give up, and I took responsibility.
Well, sorry, someone wants to be famous. This is my daughter Alice.
Who is this?
This is my daughter Alice. Right. She wanted to be famous, so it's gone now.
Oh, she's cute.
Oh,
she's so
You're very
cute.
Well, listen, I mean, I've really enjoyed this. I know you're very busy. Well, not busy. So you don't use that busy, but you're a very involved person. And I've got, as you say, that perhaps we need to set another time, if you may allow me, to talk about specific things. I think that what you're telling me is quite unique, and I wish someone told me this 10 years ago. I could be fine life, maybe.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Kevin. And we will speak again. And thank you. Yes, I don't mince my words. I don't sugarcoat.
No,
I don't say what everybody else is saying. I have very clear understanding of what the gaps are, and I say them clearly. And I don't mind whether people like me or people don't like me. It doesn't bother me. I don't base my life on other people's opinions. So if people are open and they hear what I have to say and they implement it, they are likely to see changes in their lives.
Well, listen, I mean, clearly there are a lot of things you are saying that I'm going to think about. But I cannot thank you now for your time. We will keep in touch. Obviously, I would like you to come back to the show. For those that have been watching us, my name is Kevin Anyango, the founder of Tandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. Thank you for listening to us, for watching us. And for those that celebrate Christmas, I wish you a very, very happy one. Takin, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.